Live from the Washington, D.C. area, it's the Inside Scoop, Emerald Planet. All the ecology news that our viewers want to know. Now, here's your host, Executive Director of the Emerald Planet, Dr. Sam Lee Hancock.
Hello and welcome to the Emerald Planet as we come to you from Washington, D.C. on a week-to-week basis, looking at 144 different nations, looking for those 1,000 best practices, technologies, services, and products that are making a difference as we move through the 21st century. And of course, we're looking for the leadership that's making a difference as we go to a planet of 9 billion people by 2050. And we have someone who's actually working on how do we make the lives of people that live in what we call LDCs, least developed countries, or emerging market countries, so that we're not having to deforest and at the same time to allow people to cook their food and boil their water to make sure that it's pure and good to drink, and at the same time to lower their household costs from buying charcoal and other fossil fuels. And this is Julie Greene. She's the Executive Director of Solar Cookers International. And sitting right beside me is Zainab Syed. She is the National Honor Society Awardee and a youth volunteer leader with Solar Cookers International.
Thank you for having me.
Glad to have you here. And Julie, welcome to the Emerald Planet TV.
Thank you very much. I'm delighted to be on.
Well, we're glad to have you. Tell us, the viewers, a little bit about yourself and also about Solar Cookers International.
I've been a solar cook for more than 20 years. This is a really terrific technology. It's a great way to cook. The food is delicious, but that's just in my backyard. Globally, this means changed lives and saved lives for many of the women who are living in the world's poorest regions. So this is not just an interesting thing that I do myself. This is something that has the potential to literally change our world. I've been with Solar Cookers International for going on 5 years now. The organization itself has been around for 30 years.
Yeah, that's a long time, and at the same time, you keep expanding the amount of good that you're trying to do around the world, because if we can cut down the number of people that are going out and going into the forest and chopping down the trees and using grasses and cattle dung and other kinds of things to use to cook or boil water, I mean, that's a tremendous breakthrough, and we're really pleased to have you on Emerald Planet TV. What are some of the biggest misconceptions or ideas about solar cookers that you actually have to overcome?
A lot of the misconceptions have to do with the fact that the technologies have changed so much over the past 30 years. There are very sophisticated, effective, highly efficient, and durable solar cookers. There are hundreds of different designs, and they can cook almost any type of food that human beings eat. A lot of people simply aren't aware of that. Another thing that people aren't aware of is it doesn't seem like it would have a lot of impact because every woman cooks for her family. And I say women because in most cultures, it's usually women that task falls to. But the fact that a woman lights a fire to cook for her family, if you multiply that by billions of meals per day, we can only begin to understand the impact that solar cooking can have when it spreads more widely.
Well, I tell you, that's a tremendous impact, and we really don't think about the number of meals, as you're talking about billions of meals each and every day, and what that does as far as the impact on the environment, but also the cost to society, cost to families, and cost to individuals within their local community. So that's a huge amount that's, in many ways, it's wasted, and it's unfortunate. But it seems like we're keeping you on Skype very well. Zainab, ask your next question.
So Julie, what is SCI doing to build up the global solar cooking movement?
We can't do this work alone. Most of the people who've learned how to solar cook have learned because there's someone in their community who understands the value of the technology. They know that it works. They've seen the results. They see that women are healthier because they're not cooking over smoky fires or breathing in fossil fuel emissions, cooking in an enclosed space. So we know that people who see that their neighbors, their family members, and their community members will be healthier, they're the ones on the ground who are doing the hard work to teach, to train, and we support them. We connect them with other people in the region. We're often contacted by people who say, we've just cut down the last tree in our village. What are we going to use to cook with? Can Solar Cookers International help us? Often we can. We know, based on where they're located, who are the nearest people already doing this work. If they're unable to find a way to purchase solar cookers, we have information available for free online so that people can make their own. We prefer to support local economies. So whenever possible, we like people to make their own solar cookers or to buy them from a local market.
This image up here, Julie, because that's a very important point. And many of very effective solar cookers can be made out of, and I'm going to use this term very loosely, rubbish, but it's repurposed materials such as aluminum foil, old cardboard, these types of things that are actually within many communities. So how easy it is to make one like that, it's very simple, and it really comes from local materials.
The one that you just saw in the picture was the one that Solar Cookers International designed many years ago based on a very effective design. That's the one. It was meant to be able to be made by someone who didn't have a lot of formal education. You need very simple tools, a knife, cardboard, foil, and some basic glue. So it's very inexpensive to make. Since then, there are many other kinds of solar cookers that cook at a higher temperature that are more durable, and those also can be made locally. But for people who don't have those materials, they can also buy them from their local regional markets.
Looking at, we're talking about food preparation, but what we really haven't talked about yet is the billions of gallons of water every day that needs to be boiled and made clean. In other words, filter out all the heavy particulate matter and then actually boil it so you kill out the pathogens. And we're looking at this photograph here. Really, it's probably maybe a little pond, but more like an open ditch where water gathers. So what is the importance of having the solar cookers, and how effective is it as far as boiling water, which is something that is needed in every household on the planet?
That's very true. Even here in Sacramento, we had a water boil advisory. We know that when water is not available readily, and as the supply of water dwindles, that people will be forced to go to possibly contaminated drinking sources for water. I think there's a better understanding nowadays that you really do need to boil your water if you are gathering it from ground sources so that it's safe to drink. But what a lot of people don't know is the water doesn't need to boil. It just needs to come to the temperature of pasteurization, which is less than boiling. So it actually saves women a lot of energy rather than bringing the water to a rolling boil. Solar Cookers International does have a very inexpensive device that's about 2 inches tall. It's a little tube. It's a bead of wax in a tube, and it indicates when water has reached pasteurization temperature. So if a woman leaves her water and her water pasteurization indicator in her solar cooker or puts it in her pot, when she comes back, even if the water is room temperature or cool, she can see visibly that her water is now safe to drink.
That's fantastic. That's quite a breakthrough. And also, too, that, again, saves, hundreds of millions of dollars every year because you're not having to bring it to a rolling boil. And thank you for sharing that. I haven't heard you had that technology. What is some of the other impacts that you're having around the world as far as SCI and the activities of bringing solar cookers to villages and, tens of thousands of communities?
Well, we do know because people asked us to count. They said, well, if solar cookers have been around for so long, you've been here for 30 years, how many solar cookers are there? So Solar Cookers International has been counting this with the help of our partners that we asked to collect data for us. We know that there have been 3.1 million solar cookers distributed. With average use, that means that carbon dioxide emissions have been reduced by 4.5 million tons.
That's fantastic.
And we know because of the Paris Agreement and the global goals, there's the water pasteurization indicator. Because of the global goals to wean ourselves from fossil fuels by 2050, we know that solar cookers can be a very important part of that solution.
Julie, I think you can see this image that I have on the screen here. Please, I'm going to actually back up one. And this is some of the testing that you're doing, and this goes to the heart of this performance evaluation process. Tell us about that, and then we'll go to these two beakers side by side, and let's explain both of these images.
Happy to. What you see in a very limited way, we have so many different kinds of solar cookers now. And they cook, as I mentioned, in a wide range of temperatures for different kinds of foods. Some are great for cooking sauces and rices. Others are great for baking breads or other meats. Others can saute vegetables or grill meats. And not all of them perform the same. And what we found is that in some projects, by very well-meaning people who saw the potential of solar cooking, they might have chosen for a culture that needs to cook a flatbread, like an injera bread in Ethiopia or a tortilla in Latin America, they might have chosen a solar cooker that did a great job making rice and sauces, but wouldn't be really useful if a woman expected to be able to make a tortilla with it. So Solar Cookers International was asked by all of our partners to please test these so we can see which kind of solar cookers perform and have a standard measure. So this new performance evaluation process called PEP, it's going to be measuring the amount of power measured in watts that the different solar cookers emit. Mm-hmm. So this will help people to choose the kind of solar cooker that performs how they need it to perform. Our ideal is for every woman to have the kind of solar cooker that she needs for her circumstances and her culture to cook for the foods that she cooks every day.
Yeah, and it's just amazing when you look at these images of where people are located and they're living, just how different it is. And I know that you can use solar cookers on, 3 feet of snow, and you can do it in the Sahara Desert as we're looking at here, or somewhere in Africa. We're running out of time. We have about 20 seconds left, Julie. What do you see for the growth and expansion of Solar Cookers International?
What I see is behind you, Muniseva Ashram, we're having the 6th International Solar Cooking Conference in India, in Gujarat, in January 2017. We'll be gathering all our partners from more than, we have partners in 133 countries, and we're going to help them share their expertise and come to some important decisions and actions for the sector.
Okay, thank you very much. Julie Greene, Executive Director, Solar Cookers International. Thank you for being with us as we look around the globe, is how that we make a difference in the world to reduce the fossil fuels as we create the Emerald Planet.
Osama bin Laden calls getting nuclear weapons a religious duty.
Today, materials that can be used to make nuclear weapons are stored in more than 40 countries.
Sometimes protected by just a chain-link fence.
Yet not enough is being done to lock down these materials
before terrorists steal them.
Why did we learn all this?
My mother,
my son,
my sister-in-law
were all murdered September 11th.
Help protect America.
Together we can.
Please join us.
The stem cell issue is being debated throughout the country. Truth is, most everyone has an opinion, even if they don't know the facts.
Let's stop arguing and start really understanding the potential of stem cell research.
For us and for millions of Americans living with disabilities, get the facts.
Call 1-877-842-3442 for free information from the Stem Cell Research Foundation. That's 1-877-842-3442.
Following the tragic events of September 11th, there have been hundreds of violent attacks against innocent Americans.
Remember what that flag you're waving stands for.
Remember, please stop the hate.
We're stronger when we are united.
Remember what that flag you're waving stands for.
One nation, under God,
indivisible,
with liberty
and justice
for all.
In America, there's either room for everyone, or it's not America. Don't pick the wrong fight.
Let's keep America land of the free.
Stop the hate.
Planning a home renovation? Put this at the top of your to-do list. Because after 10 years, none of you are protected against tetanus and another potentially fatal disease, diphtheria. A minor injury, such as a cut or a scrape, can put you at risk for a tetanus infection. And while safety gear offers some protection, an up-to-date vaccination called the TD booster is the best insurance against tetanus. So get the TD booster. If it's been 10, do it again.
we're back to the Inside Scoop Emerald Planet. Here again, your host, Dr. Sam.
Hello and welcome to the Emerald Planet as we are looking around the globe on a week-to-week basis for those 1,000 best practices and the people, of course, that are making a difference as we go towards 2050 and a planet of about 9 billion people. And we're looking at how do we provide the basic infrastructure, and much of it is based on energy, so that people have an increased quality of life, even though we're adding 2 billion new people in that period of time instead of just existing. It's a very profound and important question, and I have someone sitting right beside me who's quite young, in high school as a fact. This is Zainab Syed. She's a National Honor Society awardee and a youth volunteer leader with the Solar Cookers International, and good to have you on.
Thank you so much for having me.
I've met you out when you were out promoting and providing information to people about Solar Cookers and Solar Cookers International, and we're really glad to have you. And congratulations on being a National Junior Award Society.
Thank you.
So thank you and congratulations. Looking at the National Honor Society and what that's all about, but also why volunteerism is so important, and many youth like you are getting involved in this. And you've selected Solar Cookers International. We'll talk about that in a minute, but just a little bit about your high school, about the National Honor Society, and then why volunteerism. Okay?
So I attend Charles J. Colgan Senior High School in Dumfries, Virginia, and the reason volunteerism is such a big part of the community is because that's how you give back to the people who have built up this whole infrastructure that we all take for granted, like the people who made our roads and the people who take care of our homeless and our needy and all those other types of organizations. So to be able to volunteer is very important for people my age especially, who find their interests and who meet wonderful people like I have met you through my volunteer work with Solar Cookers.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think it's fantastic. So why participate in solar cooking itself, for one thing, because even though this is something has been a movement for about 30 years, at the same time, many people really don't know about it, and they're still using charcoal and natural gas and all these other fossil fuels, which really is harm to the environment. But why take your time? You've talked about why it's important to give back. Why do you think it is important to give back?
I think it is important to give back, especially with Solar Cookers International. You have so many amazing people who have dedicated themselves to bettering the people who aren't as fortunate as us, or who may not have the same abilities and desires and luxuries that we take for granted on a daily basis. So to be able to give back to those people and to facilitate their lives in a way that really does make an impact on their day-to-day routines is something that really changes.
Well, that's really very important. And go to the solar cooking part. Why do you think that's so important? Because you've been doing this for some years now. I know that you're doing this with your mom and dad, which I think is even more fantastic. But why do you think solar cooking is really something you can dedicate yourself to?
Right. Well, so the sun comes out every day, so solar cooking is obviously something that can be used every year, throughout the whole year, and it's not a seasonal thing. It's very easy to be able to use it throughout the year, and in different locations you can use it to different advantages depending on your climate, depending on what resources are available to you, and that's what makes it very easy and very wonderful to be a part of.
Well, we're looking at a photograph here, and I know that you made a PowerPoint presentation and actually did a solar cooking demonstration.
Right.
So tell us about that, and what is the reaction of the youth that you're actually talking to, the students that are involved?
Right, so this picture is at my local library, Chin Park Regional Library, and a lot of times when the kids see the homemade solar cookers made out of old cardboard boxes or pizza boxes or toy boxes, they really do get excited because it's one way we can recycle and reduce the amount of waste we have. And this lady in particular actually took home one of the solar cookers that I made at home because she was so excited that her kids could have a new science project to look forward to. And it was just very inspiring because you see these young kids who get all excited to see all the wonderful things you can do with a solar cooker.
Well, it's a two-way street. You're excited, you're there, you're sharing your knowledge, skill, wisdom, with these youth, which then is going back to their families.
Right.
So you're having impact on multi-generations. But at the same time, they make you more enthusiastic because, they're excited about what you have to share. Tell me what they had to say to you about going through this experience. You can see them, they look excited, but what do they actually have to say that really keeps you doing this on a day-to-day, week-by-week basis?
Right, well, some of them say that they've done similar things in their Boy Scout or Girl Scout troops, which obviously is very encouraging to see because you know that they're aware of this technology, and in the event that they ever have to use it, if there's a power outage, if they're unable to cook using a stovetop, then they have other means of cooking and heating up their food. As well as they also say that why isn't this stuff more popular? What else can we do with solar technology in general besides just cooking?
Well, the whole thing about it, many people here in the United States will think, well, this is just something for some developing country somewhere in Latin America, Africa, or Southeast Asia. But our power goes off in the wintertime when we have heavy snowfall.
Yes, of
and
course.
When the sun comes back out, you go out to the back deck or the back of the house or literally in the middle of the yard, set it up, and it can actually start, purifying the water or melting the snow for water. I mean,
yes, of course.
It's very practical use.
Yes.
We need to think more about, this, that many times we're off grid and we don't even really think about it.
Yes,
and that's
of
very
course.
important. Well, you were showing people how to bake cakes, how to do marshmallow desserts and all kinds of fun things.
Yes.
Tell us about that experience and why you think that was really helpful for people to get a true hands-on experience.
Yes, so the first time I baked a cake was at our local mosque in Manassas. My family and I hosted an interfaith event, and so it was just very very welcoming to see everybody embracing the technology, and everybody was so excited when the cake showed up out of the pot that, oh my God, it actually did cook. And then
so there was some doubt that this was actually going to work.
Yes, some people did doubt it. Some people did doubt it until they saw the pot open and there's steam coming out of it and there's a big cake in there. And then also in this picture, at NDU, actually,
National Defense University.
Yes, National Defense University. We were having a competition with a classic stovetop cooker in who could melt marshmallows quicker, faster, or better. And solar cooker, and there was a tie. So it shows that a solar cooker could do the same things a normal fire or charcoal flame could do.
That's really interesting. You actually had a competition between fossil fuels, and the solar cooker came out.
Yes.
That's incredible. What a great story. That even makes the story more powerful.
Yeah.
Talking about what we were mentioning just before about working with the children, how the information goes to the parents and all that.
Right.
But in the developing world, many people are still cutting down trees. They're going out into grasslands instead of using that for fodder for the cattle. They're having to burn, which is heavy particulate that's going within these confined homes and into the environment. How do you think working around the globe, which is your father and mother have actually done that, how do you think that really is helpful to the children overseas in ways that they may not even think about a solar cooker?
Right. So in 2011, we went to Karachi, in a small village, where we shared this idea of a solar cooker with the local people. And a lot of them were very ecstatic to see it because they said that we spend so much money for charcoal and wood and all these other materials to make one fire that lasts one day that they have to put out eventually at night. And it only cooks them one meal. And so to think that one of those kids could eventually start a small little business of making solar cookers with the materials around them, that they could save that money that they spend for fossil fuels and lumber for maybe the child's education, maybe to better their health, like through better clothing. And the pasteurization of water obviously plays an epic role in their health as well, because they can wash their faces, they can do all these hygienical things that they normally can't do without.
Yeah, and people don't realize that 50% of the illnesses among particularly children is waterborne.
Right.
So it comes through bad water, in some cases no water.
Right.
And there's some places like West Africa, Mali, Niger, and places like that where they're literally going out and digging mud,
right.
and they're trying to extract a little bit of moisture just from mud. So it's not even water they're harvesting, is that they're going out and trying to get the soil. But this is a demonstration here about everything that you're talking about, Zainab, and I think it's fantastic that you can do it here, but also you can do it abroad.
Right.
So looking at the message that we want to get across to Pakistan, Southeast Asia, the area that, you know, is where your family came from, and all that. How you see this mix of benefits? You went through a nice litany of things, but let's do that again, really reaching out into these communities, these countries, about why they really need to seriously consider solar cookers.
Right. I think they should consider solar cookers because in the money they're saving, obviously that would better themselves, and then maybe they could find a better means of labor instead of having to just cut down trees and then getting a small payment for that. And then you're helping out with the deforestation and pollution problems also in those areas that are very underdeveloped. So.
And you know, the one thing too is in these countries that, and people in the United States don't really think about it, but there, it's really a requirement that the families have to provide backpacks, school uniforms.
Right.
Many countries now, they can't come barefooted anymore. They have to have shoes or sandals or something like that.
Right.
So it's a huge expense when you have maybe half of the population that lives on less than $1 US or $2 US a day,
yes.
and you have several children that are trying to go to school. So it's amazing the savings that can go back into these families and go forward. Solar Cookers International, you've been involved with them for some years now, again with your parents. They're fantastic folks. What do you see for the expansion of Solar Cookers International from your perspective as a high school student and soon to go on to college or university?
I believe that if people who start to embrace solar cooking and see its wonderful benefits and the amazing things it can do, then we can drive this forward, and then that would eliminate a lot of the need for fossil fuels and coal and lumber and all that. So if everybody embraces, and not even just solar cooking, I think that if you volunteer for a cause that you believe in, you're already making the world a better place.
That's absolutely fantastic. And what one lesson have you learned that you can apply to your own life out of this experience?
I've learned that through dedication and through hard work and through really believing in what you're doing, you can accomplish a lot of things that normally people would doubt you in.
It's fantastic. Zainab Syed, National Honor Society Awardee, Youth Volunteer Leader, Solar Cookers International, as we create the Emerald Planet.
Art, a universal language, an expression of culture, of self. And now, thanks to Empowered Women International, a way for emerging and established immigrant and refugee artists and artisans to find hope to earn a living while enriching the lives of all of us. Empowered Women International, making a better America every day. For more information on Empowered Women International's educational programs or to make a tax-free donation, contact cfrip at AOL.com.
Here, kitty, kitty. Here, kitty, kitty, kitty. Here, kitty, kitty.
You'd think it would be easy to tell which kids have trouble with their eyesight. But that's not always the case. Even though 1 in 4 children may have a vision problem, eye doctors tell us the symptoms aren't always so obvious. We do know that 80% of all childhood learning is visual. And without good vision, kids can have trouble learning to read and may fall behind in school. For clues on how to spot the real-life signs of childhood vision problems and what parents can do, visit checkyearly.com. A public service message from the Vision Council of America and Reading is Fundamental.
We're back to the Inside Scoop Emerald Planet. Here again, your host, Dr. Sam.
Hello and welcome to the Emerald Planet as we come to you from Washington, D.C. in the United States as we're looking around the globe on a week-to-week basis and looking for those 1,000 best practices, technologies, services, and products that make a difference as we move through the 21st century. And we have people that are very much involved around the globe trying to make a difference in communities that really need help as far as having the energy that they need for purifying water, for cooking their food, and other daily needs that surround water and making sure that it works well and at the same time that they can purify the food that they're raising and having in their own local communities. And we're talking about Solar Cookers International, and this charming young man sitting right beside me introduced me to this organization. This is Afzal Syed. He is and I'm going to go through all this, no matter where you like it or not. He's a Verizon Employee Environmental Excellence Award winner, Volunteer of the Year, and Certificate of Appreciation from TADWEER, Waste Management Association, which is an international group. So you have for your company all the way to the international. And this Samina Syed, who is a food preparation specialist, and she's also a volunteer with Solar Cookers International. And both of you, welcome to the Emerald Planet TV.
Thank you for inviting us.
Glad to have you.
It's an honor to be back.
We're honored to have you. Let's put it that way. You're doing absolutely fantastic work. Afzal, tell us a little bit about Solar Cookers International and why do you think this work is so important? Because you are so enthusiastic. Every time I talk with you, you bring up the topic, even if it's something I didn't ask you about. So you're excited.
This is an excellent source of cooking food, and pasteurizing water. It has multiple uses, and it's like free. I mean, you can, like you had mentioned earlier, you can use the recyclable stuff, make a cooker out of it, like in disaster reliefs. Like after a hurricane, you need a pasteurized water or hot food. What else you can do? Find an old cardboard box, put some mylar plastic or aluminum foil, whatever is available, cover it up, and you can have a meal.
Well, the thing about this is that you actually started doing this some years ago. You went back to your own home country at your own expense, and you started demonstrating this. And it's just amazing the dedication that you have. So when you're going into these communities and you're exhibiting this, what is some of the feedback that you're getting that allows you to stay so enthusiastic over the years that you've been involved?
Well, people are sometimes are amazed. Some people they they know how it works, but they're reluctant to use it because some of them all kind of think something that, it's a radiation, it could do harm. It's the radiation we absorb every day.
Yeah, particularly in these hot countries. I mean, they're absorbing it the whole time that they're out, or sitting in a window, or sitting in their car. Right?
Exactly. I mean. But people are reluctant to change. That's the human nature. They're slow to adapt. But if we continue to show them and be persistent, it will catch up.
Yeah, that's important, the persistence part, because even they may not do something. In essence, they give up on the technology. We can't give up on them. Is that what you're saying?
Exactly. I mean, my thinking is if I meet I haven't met that, but if I meet 100,000 people and one person say, oh, I like it, that's my success.
So it's good enough for you?
It's good enough.
Fantastic.
I mean, one day at a time.
Samina, you are the one that really is the one that's bringing people into this, because what you've told me, and I believe it because I've had your food, is that actually that solar cooked food is better than if you're using a fossil fuel energy source. So tell us about that, why you see the difference as a mother, as a head of your household, and being part of Solar Cookers International.
Good question. Food made with solar cooker, which doesn't require water in cooking, so that much. So the cooking, it's
it's healthier.
It's very healthier, and the big difference is that then you can boil the egg, without water in the pot.
So you're keeping the nutrients in the food instead of diluting it and having it go into the water.
Full of flavor and full of things. So, and that's another thing. And the other difference is that the solar cooking food, solar cooking food is
I should have practiced.
Like
tastes better.
It's okay. Take your time.
Solar cooking food. If you made solar cooking, it's depend on the amount of the what are you making. So it's.
Well, one of the things I find. I'm terrible at making soups. I love soup. And I would have soup 3 meals a day. And in many countries I'm traveling in, I have soup 3 meals a day. I can make great stews. I don't know why I can't get enough water into it so that it actually is a soup instead of a stew. But I think through that, the flavors are so much more intense with the less water. And I think that's what you're trying to talk about, right?
Yes,
is that you can use less condiments or less seasonings, less herbs.
Yes,
if you're using the solar cooking.
You can put all together because the solar cooking food, food, it has own liquid. So it keeps moist and full of flavor. So it depends. You can make the lot of varieties. I cooked myself too, like rice and lentils, vegetable, and you can use different kinds of solar cooker, like parabolic. If you use the parabolic solar cooker, so in parabolic solar cooker can roast the chicken, all kinds of meat. And popcorn.
Popcorn?
Yeah.
I love popcorn. I'm coming over from solar cooked popcorn.
Yes, in parabolic. But then other one is box cooker. Box cooker baked bread and cake and cookies. And the third one is the basic,
this is a type of cooker.
Type of cooker, yeah, the basic one, the panel one. The panel one, you can cook easily, very easily, all kinds of vegetables, lentils, beans.
And water as well, to boil water and purify water.
Yeah, purifying water as well as, and you can get the full of flavor and good, delicious food.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, that's a good message, because if people think they're going to get good food, it's less expensive, and they can use less seasonings and things like that.
Yeah.
I mean, why not do it, right?
Sure.
And it saves you money.
Saves you
looking
money.
at what type of solar cooker do you find as you're going literally around the world now, showing these things, that has the most interest and seems to have the greatest impact as people saying, hey, this is probably a good idea?
Well, what I've learned so far is showing them how to make their own. Ask them to bring a used box, or like this is an excellent example of homemade cookers. It was displayed in Sacramento during solar cooking, and I would like to appreciate and honor Sharon Cousin, I'm sorry. She lives in Idaho, and she's so amazing. She makes cooker out of everything.
I know, and she's shown up at National Defense University and been there to demonstrate this. But this is something that the people in the local community were actually making themselves, correct?
Oh, yeah.
So what types of materials have they used here, Afzal?
Basically, they start with the cardboard boxes, empty cardboard boxes.
And that's typical.
That's
cardboard. Okay.
Because it's readily available everywhere.
Everywhere in the world. You can be in Kenya, you can be in Denmark, and you still have it. Okay.
Exactly.
Okay.
Then you have, you can make like a box cooker out of wood. You can take 2 boxes, one bigger, one smaller, put them inside, and you can use a newspaper as an insulation and cover it with any glass top or something see-through to retain the heat, and that's your basic box cooker.
That is absolutely amazing.
And this is like a heat retention basket. You can see Samina at the National Defense University. This is, once you cooked your food, you can put it inside and it will stay warm for dinner. Or other thing is you can bring it to a boil on a regular fire and put the boiling food inside this basket. It will slow cook. So that will save you like 40 or 50% of your water energy.
That is absolutely incredible. So, so this is an improvement on an improvement. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, it's like basic.
Every time I get with you, I learn something new about this whole thing. This is really neat. Samia, looking at the average amount of time, let's take one. We want to boil water or heat it so you kill all the pathogens, and then another one that we want to make vegetables and maybe some kind of meal with beans or something like that. Just give us an example of how much time we would need in both of those scenarios.
A pot of rice that takes everywhere from 1.5 hours to 2 hours. It depends on the intensity of the sun, as well as the amount of rice is being cooked at the time. So the whole thing is that the intensity of the sun, so cook things very quick, but so as well as the water, you can.
The amount of moisture it's in there is going to determine the time too.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, this is so clever. I just love this idea, and I appreciate you sharing this some years ago now at National Defense University.
The best part is that everything is full of flavor, because it's covered in the plastic and all steam. The food steam is in there, so it's all full of flavors. And the best part is that there is nobody can receive the bill.
I tell you, and I know that because I've had your food at National Defense University and at your home. You are a fantastic cook, so I can attest it's going to be flavorful and quite delicious. We only have about 30 seconds. So what do you see for the growth and expansion of Solar Cookers International over the next, say, 5, 10, 15 years?
Growth potential are there. We need to continue to show people. Wherever we go, talk about it, carry a Cook It, my favorite solar cooker. I carry it everywhere.
It's fantastic.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for being here. This is Afzal Syed.
Thank you so much.
Samina, thank you very much for being here, and thank you to our viewers as we create the Emerald Planet.
One day these rats were playing in the woods. Well, it's some matches and that's no good. Listen to smoke before you give it a try. Only you. Don't play with matches. Don't play with fire. Cause there's nothing very funny about nothing very nice on a homeless mind. So if a gorgeous force is what you desire, don't play with matches, don't play with fire.
Only you can prevent wildfires.
Fire!
Why don't you just wash your car at home? When I wash my car, everything runs down the street and down into the storm drains. With all the chemicals in the soaps and waxes, the last thing I want to do is poison my own drinking water. At least here, it's all contained and recycled on site. That's why I also take my car in for oil changes instead of doing it myself. I might take a chance on spilling stuff. You know what the best part is? What? More time to kick back and watch the game.
How far would you go to protect the planet?
I want you to build an ark.
Here we go! Okay, that's good. Oh, okay. Ow!
Maybe there's another way.
People! The flood is imminent! Is it too much to ask for a little precipitation?
Go to fightglobalwarming.com to find out what you and your community can do to reduce global warming pollution.
Somewhere around the world, there are men and women of the armed forces risking their lives, helping rebuild communities after natural disasters, collecting toys for needy children, tutoring kids in school. These are your sons and daughters who work to keep us safe, secure, and free. Dedicated men and women who put their country first.
We're back to the Inside Scoop Emerald Planet. Here again, your host, Dr. Sam.
Hello and welcome to the Emerald Planet. I'm Dr. Sam Hancock of Emerald Planet and Emerald Planet TV. I'm the President and Executive Director, coming to you on a week-to-week basis as we look for what we call the best of the best technologies, services, products, and actual solutions to real problems around the globe. Many people just complain about the issues, and we want to identify, but we want to bring the solutions. And I have someone sitting right beside me who is a solution machine. I know about her from her work with Solar Cookers International. This is Dr. Marguerite Peg Barratt, Dean retired from the Columbian College of Arts and Sciences, the George Washington University, and also a long-term volunteer with Solar Cookers International. And Peg, welcome to the Emerald Planet TV.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Glad to have you here. Looking at some of these professional duties and leadership skills that you gained while you were at the George Washington University, how do you think those have helped you with Solar Cookers International? And explain your relationship with Solar Cookers International.
Well, I think any kind of leadership is person to person, and so if we can go out and show people person to person that this solar cooking really works, whether there's somebody here in the DC area, or I've done solar cooking in Japan and I've done solar cooking in Africa, it's just person to person.
But looking at all this, people say, as they fold their arms and look at you a little askant. You're the dean of the Columbian School of Arts and Sciences at the George Washington University. Why would you be fooling around with solar cookers? What do you answer?
I have a passion for this. I have a passion for this. And the classes that I teach are about child development. And this is so important for children that we switch to solar cooking. Children won't get burned in a cook fire. Children won't have to breathe the smoke that's in a cook fire. Children are going to inherit a world that is not contaminated by burning fossil fuels. There won't be the lack of forests from deforestation. So this is for kids that I have this passion.
Well, that is so important, and that was such a fantastic list. Let's go through those one more time.
Okay, a little.
We want to make sure that the people hear these benefits, because people get lost in this. It's really, it's about the money. We reduce the household budget, or we're not doing,
and
we're not doing greenhouse gas emissions, but you had a fantastic list. Let's go through your list.
Okay, so from the family's perspective, from the children's perspective, children get burned in household fires. And this is extremely dangerous. Children die from burns from household fires. This is extremely dangerous.
Yeah, my understanding in Latin America, because Rotary International and my Rotary Club of Washington, Rotary Club of Washington, D.C. has been involved in the children's hospitals, the burn units across Latin America. And they say 6 million children a year, which I find is a huge number, get burned, 50,000 die.
Yeah.
That is a huge loss on society, and you think about the ones that are burned, either a little bit or severely, and what that costs to these families, and most of these are low-income families to start with. I mean, that breaks your heart.
It does.
Let's go through your next point.
And the breathing the smoke, the particulate matter, it's not good for anybody, and women and children are the ones who are most exposed to that. It may be, too, that kids have to be the ones to collect the wood, and they have to go far from their home and get exposed to dangers in the course of trying to collect the wood that their family is going to use.
Yeah, and also, too, if they're out actually trying to chop trees, many of these kids, they don't have either shoes, they're barefoot or in flip-flops or whatever. I mean, it's just dastardly what they go through.
Yeah.
It really is.
And
they're out of school in many cases.
And it was already mentioned, if you could save even a little money, you can pay the school fees, you can buy the school uniform, you can buy the school notebooks, because it isn't free public education the way we generally have in a lot of the world.
Yeah, and internationally, and it is required. You have to have, you know, the required backpack. You need to have the school uniforms, you know, all these other kinds of things that are so important. And it really is just, it's unbelievable what people pay when they're outside the borders of the United States for something that's, we think, is a basic human right, that you have.
Right.
Going on to the cooked foods and all that, why do you think that solar cookers are just the way that need to be going? Not just, you know, the health and all that, but just the food itself.
So as was already said on your program, it's very healthy because you're not using a lot of water, you're not diluting the vitamins for the food, and you can make, if you have the right cooker, if you match the cooker to the cuisine, you can make all kinds of food. So we might like to do a cake or cookies for a demonstration in the United States because that's what Americans love to eat. But when you do a demonstration, when I did demonstration in Africa, I made rice. In Japan, I made rice, we made sweet potatoes. That's what they eat. And fufu, which is kind of a polenta mush that lots of countries have a version of that. It's perfect, made in the solar cooker, and you don't even have to sit there and stir it, and you're never going to burn it.
That's absolutely amazing. Now, looking at, I was in Tanzania, I was there for 15 days this year and last year. And so there's, you know, lots of beans and vegetables and those kinds of things. And a lot of people don't eat the vegetables, and it goes back to the fact that they think they have to put water in it to be able to cook because they're using natural gas and other kinds of things. So what is the difference as far as cooking the vegetables so that people actually are enhancing their diets within these countries? Because the vegetables and the fruit was just absolutely, I mean, picture perfect. But yet, you know, I was the one that was eating all the greens. I said greens and beans is what I was going to have there.
Right.
And then also, let's add in that about cooking meat. Tell us about those things.
So if you just put the vegetable in, like you can just put a potato in, you can just put a sweet potato in, you can just put some broccoli in, and it cooks. You can just put the egg in without any water, and it cooks in the solar cooker. And all the nutrients are maintained right there with it. You can put a chicken and vegetables, like a stew in there, put it in the morning, leave it for 2, 3, 4 hours. It's never gonna overcook, it's never gonna burn, and it'll be a stewed chicken by the end of the day.
Now this is amazing, Peg. You're telling me that I have the solar cooker, it's not gonna burn, I can leave it for, I get busy and I'm cutting sugar cane or harvesting the maize or whatever, I come back and it's still nutritious.
That's right, that's right.
Why solar cooking allows you that leeway to be able to just forget about it and you come back, it's cooking.
The most basic solar cooker is more or less like your crock pot. And people are used to, in this country, throwing food in a crock pot in the morning, you don't attend to it, you take it out at the end of the day.
Okay.
If you're solar cooking, if you're nearby, you could re-aim it towards the sun every hour. But if you're not, you just more or less aim it where the sun's going to be at noon and wait for it to be on either side of that, and it'll cook.
Okay.
The only thing I ever cooked badly in a solar cooker was trying to make macaroni and cheese, and I just so overcooked the noodles because it was so hot, and it was cooking faster than I thought it would.
So this was a lesson learned.
Yes.
Okay. Well, then
But
the
I
next
think
time,
that's the only thing you can overcook.
well, what you do is you just leave it in less time, right?
Exactly. Exactly.
Now, looking at, I'm going to go through some of these because we have different dishes here that you've actually cooked, and they're absolutely
looks
beautiful.
like the blueberry cake. Oh, yeah.
Yes, and you're making me hungry. I didn't have much lunch, so you're putting this food in front of me through the picture anyway. But it clouds over. It's monsoon season. You have rains one day after another. How do I use a solar cooker? We didn't have that much sun today.
So you can't have it as your only kind of cooking. But in your own home, you don't have one kind. You might have a crock pot and a stovetop and an oven.
And a microwave.
And a microwave and maybe a bread maker, who knows? So you might need more than one thing. But if you use a high efficiency, what we call a rocket stove, high efficiency wood stove, all the fuel is going, there's a draft that takes all the heat right up to the pot. And so you can use a high efficiency rocket stove. You can cook it.
And that's the one, I saw these in Mexico. We have the Monarch Butterfly program, so we go there every year. And they had this, and they had one stick of wood in this stove, and they fixed their whole meal with one stick of wood instead of having 4 or 5 or 6.
Yep, because it's got a great draft and all the heat goes onto the pot. If you bring it up to a boil, and this was mentioned earlier, bring it up to a boil, put it in a heat retention basket, surround it with a whole bunch of pillows or blankets or straw or feathers.
Or old newspapers.
Old newspapers, insulate it. It will continue cooking and finish its cooking without any fuel at all. So you bring it up to a boil, your rice, your polenta, your fufu is going to continue to cook. I see a picture.
Yes, and I want you to talk about this picture.
Doing solar cooking when we had 20 inches of snow last winter. So it doesn't need to be hot. It just
and
needs
it doesn't
to
need
sun.
to be overseas.
And it doesn't need to be overseas.
This is the lesson.
Exactly. So when I went to the Solar Cookers International Conference, people said that they had been criticized. Why would you send something overseas if you didn't use it yourself here? And so I made a commitment to
That's a good criticism, actually.
Yeah, so I made a commitment to do solar cooking here. And here is a picture of me in the Gambia. And I have just cooked some rice. First, I brought the water up to a boil so that they could see the water was boiling before I asked for any rice. Because food is precious there. And so then they put
every grain, and I'm putting this up here, and there's not a single grain that will go to waste in these societies.
Absolutely. So they were checking it to see if it actually matched the texture. These people grew this rice themselves.
I'm going to go back to, this is
so
the before.
So she's thumbs up here. It looks like it's working, and then she's tasting it. And then I think, if you may have another picture here, there's enough to share around. And so she's sharing it with about 15 kids who were all also approved of how it turned out.
That's fantastic.
And the husband in the family said, oh, this is too complicated for my wife to learn. But it wasn't too complicated for her to learn or her daughters to learn.
It's probably too complicated for him to
learn.
Let's put it that way.
Let's face it. He wasn't the cook. That wasn't the one I was trying to teach.
The ladies are the ones that really do all this kind of work anyway, and they need to be.
True.
And we're just about running out of time. So let's leave that up. Going to Solar Cookers International, two questions. One is the importance of it. Domestically and international, because more and more the grid is not working as it should in the United States. And then secondly, what do you see the growth and development?
Sure. One of the things Solar Cookers International has is a presence at the United Nations, so that they can be walking the halls and talking to people about solar cooking. So that's a piece, is getting it worldwide, and the other piece is getting it to kids. So I've done solar cooking with my grandchildren. Great to have Zainab as an advocate for solar cooking.
Anyway,
thank you very much.
Thank you much for being here. And thank you, dear viewers, for listening about this fantastic, and we can't say it's an invention, it's been around for about 30 years, maybe more years than that, the solar cookers, and of course Solar Cookers International. And it's a way forward as far as taking millions of people who do not have the energy, the fuel, and bring them into the 21st century for nutrition, reducing cost, and protect the environment as we create the Emerald Planet.